Hello everyone, my name is Florina Kirvase and you are listening to the podcast Business as Usual. For those that are listening and looking, you can have the video, so there is a YouTube here especially for you, and you can hear the podcast also on the platforms like Spotify and anywhere else where you like to hear your podcasts. The guest of today is a very free spirit, I would say, in the most positive way of this word. Is a brave guy, a person who decided to change his life, going from a very super secure place into unknown, straight. A person who had to send home a lot of people, and a person who was working with risk, dealing day by day. A person from whom we can all learn and who can help a lot of the business if someone there is listening to this carefully. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to introduce you, Cyril Moreno.
Cyril, thank you very much for accepting being a guest to this podcast called Business as Usual.
Thank you.
I was curious to see and to hear what is business as usual for you.
It can be a lot of different things. Well, business as usual is just take things in the way they come and then and try to manage to get the best out of it, I would say.
I don't know much about the reason why you change what you change, but you are one of these people that come into my mind when I think, oh, it takes a lot of courage of changing the course of the career from being an employee for a big company or for big companies, big names, and stepping out of this and going into an own business. And
Yes,
the question that comes for me is, what did make this change in you?
Well, you have many different factors. The first one being personal, because I would not make much difference in between big corporations or small businesses, because as long as you are into your business, you're there to drive and to make it go forward. So basically, myself, I worked for multinationals and I've worked for small groups and as well for very small companies. The turnover, to give you an idea, would range from a couple of millions. I think the smallest one I've done was like 11 millions when I entered, and some organizations were over 10 billions. So I have a wide range, I would say, of experiences in terms of scoping. And basically, what brought me into that situation was the fact that first, for personal reasons, because I had two daughters and one of them got extremely sick from an autoimmune disease. And basically, at that time, I didn't really have the time to match the professional life with the personal life. And that's kind of painful at some point when you cannot devote as much time as you should be to be able to, let's say, help your children or your child during that time. So that was one point that's been kind of hard to deal with. So it started to make me think, because you know how it is when you're in your daily business life, you just run. It's like you work hours and hours and you run. So at some point you need to have a split in between what you want to take out of your professional life and professional experience as a whole, and also what you want to take from your private life. And basically, this kind of made me realize that if you have children, it's because you want to spend time with them. So basically, this is the point. And this is where, when you have such, let's say, an accident in life, that starts making you think in a different way. So the idea started from there. I already had a try building one business a couple of years ago, but we were facing some, let's say, legal issues. This was an agricultural topic that needed some kind of specific agreements from the government. So this was a bit tough, and I decided to keep on going with, let's say, regular employment.
And how many
And
hours have
then,
you been working? Because it's curious. So you said it's accident, although very little things, if nothing, in life happens accidentally. But I'm curious to hear how many hours you have been working when this accident with your daughter happened.
um, somewhere in between 10 to 14 hours a day, I would
Wow.
say, 6 to 7 days a week.
Yeah. So the volume and the consumption of the energy was huge.
Yeah, 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 definitely. This was during a very time business-wise, and this didn't match. So basically, I've had quite some weeks where I would spend the day uh, on my business life, if I could say so, and at night I would simply spend the night at the hospital with my child. So the split was very difficult, and this has strong repercussions on everyone in the family as well. So, once this happens, you go through it, and then you have to put the pieces back together. And this is where you start thinking and realizing that maybe it would be good to have a little more time to spend with your family compared to spending as much time in your business life. And those two are very different because basically when you work, let's say, at management level or top management level, things like this, you devote the biggest portion of your time to your job. And this is a different organization from your business life and your personal life. And basically, in your personal life, if you don't have someone that's ready to support the lack of time that you have and compensate, then those two don't work. This is my view.
Absolutely.
So after it's more, I would say what makes you think is more like the feeling that you've missed something or the feeling that you did not meet the expectation either of your child or your wife or your partner, the other kids that may be in the family as well. And then when you get to that stage where you need to put those pieces together, myself, I did start to think. And basically, the first thinking is that such a problem, a health issue in life, does not only happen to others, because in that case, this was my kid. And basically, when this happens, suddenly you feel just helpless because you don't have time, because your schedule, you're used to a specific schedule, you're used to run from point A to point B constantly. So basically, you start changing the way you picture things and the way you see either your professional path or your personal path. And basically, myself, I started to think I definitely love, I would say, my professional area, but I needed to find a way to be able to open up more space in terms of time to my personal area, if I could say so.
Certainly. So you
And
made a point of time when you reflect and you said, okay, this will not be enough for me. It will break apart. You were splitting your time between the business and the family, and then you decided to change.
no, not really, almost.
Okay.
And then basically at some point I was no longer aligned, um, let's say, with with the way things were going in my professional life, I would say. I was disconnected in terms of strategy and so on. So, I mean, I don't think there's a real point discussing all this, but I would say that I just came to a stage where things needed to change, and they needed to change because I also needed to move into a direction where I would feel some value creation, because the way I picture my job or my professional impact is to create value. And when you feel that you are no longer creating that value you're looking at, and value is not only in euro or dollar terms, but it's a whole within the organization. And when I did reach that stage where I kind of felt, how would I say that, uncomfortable or just frustrated at some point by the way my professional life and the environment was going, uh, well, this was time for a change. And basically, it takes quite some time, because you first start discussing with people, then you meet different people, and you look around. I've met recruiters, for example, to change jobs. And even that was not really satisfying. So basically, there's the time where you start thinking, the time where the reflection is mature, and the time where it's time to change. And when it's time to change and things basically go around, myself, I needed a break. So basically, there was no plan to jump from where I was directly into a new situation. It was first, okay, I start the change, and then I will mature the ideas and the different options, and I will go back there, because at some point, with everything that occurred on my personal side during that time, I needed time for myself. And basically, when the change did engage, this is where everything started. And basically, what I've done for the past 2 years is just a combination of opportunities um, that came along the way by meeting different people and having situation change. Because, well, I did take my break at the end of 19, and right away I did meet one person called Patrick Marcès, who was in need of help to be able to grow his business and basically push it to the next level.
But one thing,
So,
Cyril, what I find it very interesting, and I think it's important that those who are listening to us might also resonate with, is the fact that the sense of our life is not a clean path. It's not something that you know exactly where you
no,
will end up. So it's a process where we need to understand there is something that doesn't make sense. Like you said, it was the time that you could not necessarily split half between the job and your private life. Then it was this sense of creating value where not necessarily was something that you could see in the current role. And then there was the reflection, and then there was the break, and then there was the start. And it's nice the way you say, then you bump into people or you come along to other people, because obviously there is another way for you and there is another path waiting for you.
Most probably, but you know, uh, doing that change occurs for one reason, and there are thousands of reasons to look for a change. But basically, when you step into it, because when you don't feel at the right spot in your job any longer, you don't have fun. Uh, you're not excited by what you do, and basically this is time for change. So you can be a person that's going to wait and tell yourself, okay, maybe it will change later down the road. You can decide to make the change on your own. You can decide that you need something else, and basically you start being in a change process on your own. And once you step outside of your role, and you, for example, myself, I decided to take some time for me. Everything occurred just like this. But I mean, as soon as I stepped out, I met that person. We discussed very quickly. We came to an agreement that I would not spend 100% of my time helping him with his company, but I could do some consulting. And basically, doing some consulting was enabling me to have time for myself, to work on myself, and also to keep having, let's say, a foot in the working environment and in an organization. And basically, myself, a portion that I love in my professional life is developing organizations. So,
Okay.
like finding better ways to do things and make things grow.
So it's the
So
optimizing
basically,
part of the business, or is it the process of creating value by optimizing?
it's a mix of everything. Basically, if things don't work out the way they're supposed to be or to work, find the solution uh, to make it work in a different way. And you have an impact, a tremendous impact on organizations by having that way of thinking, because you don't need to re-engineer everything. It's like you don't scratch and restart. This is not necessarily, but you touch points within organizations that will enable you to push it to the next level. And sometimes those points can be meetings because people don't speak with each other. I've seen organizations where people literally would send each other emails when they would be one door away in terms of office space. And when you see that, you're just like, can't you just step up and go see your colleague and have a chat and stop sending each other dozens of emails? And
Well, but you
so
are sensing
basically,
opportunities that not necessarily are so obvious for the others with the knowledge that you have so far.
maybe, I don't know. Honestly, Florina, I don't know. It's just like, each of us will approach a situation in a different way or from a different angle. And basically, this is what defines you as a professional because you have your style. And see, for example, that person I've worked with on consulting at first, I'm still in touch with that person today. And when we discuss, he goes like, I use the Moreno methodology. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was, since we work together, um, I took from you everything, like all the sequences that you brought to me. And this is the way I work today. So basically, my style did fit that person and enabled him to move forward because when I did help that person. The company was making, I think, somewhere around 3 million euros a year. 2 years down the road, including the COVID space, the person is almost reaching 8 million euros. So it works and it's smoother. And there have been lots of investments, and I mean, so everyone has a style. And basically, if your style fits and you're able to engage other people with you, then this is jackpot and
Then
everything
it's
works.
magic, right? And then it's a lot of
Uh,
process and expertise, and I think we should not take the experience out of the process, because
yes,
I know you were in purchasing. I know you were acting as a risk manager. I know you've been upgrading and trying to downsize companies upon request, and it's not easy working all the time with such a heavy risk on the shoulders. And the moment when you stepped out and you decided to do consultancy, obviously you started using the expertise as an external partner to some companies, like the
yeah.
example that you showed. And the question that comes up for me is, what do you currently do?
Oops, sorry, I lost it. What do I currently do? Um, Quite a few things, I would say. Uh, so basically, I stepped out that consultancy activity because I am not a consultant. So I need to have my hands into the engine. So I ended up deciding stepping out of this for some time. In between, there's been the COVID, with that massive crisis. So basically, that enabled me to step into, that enabled me to come back into chemicals, which is an area that I love. I love working in chemicals. And that enabled me to support companies to produce and to sell hydroalcoholic gel. So let's face it, this was lucrative. And after that, I felt the need of working in teams again. So basically, I decided to invest into different businesses. And so I've created a startup with a partner called Sebastian. The startup is called DigiGlobal. I focused on my company and I took shares into another startup that has nothing to do with chemicals.
So you
And
are a business creator, if one can say so.
honestly, I would never have pictured myself doing that. And again,
Like the
this
Cyril
was
10
just
years ago, talking to the Cyril of today, would have not expected these results that you
yes.
are.
And to be very honest with you, as of today, I need a lot of exchanges with sparring partners. So I have friends, I have business partners, I know consultants. We had a quick chat on the topic together, and I'm someone who needs to share ideas, and that make things grow in my mind, and that enables me to see where I'm going. And basically, as of today, I'm let's say, refocusing on my first company where I'm alone and where we've been developing over years a network of independent companies. Everything is small businesses that work very close to each other to enable, in fact, to organize a distribution model for formulated products in a very short path. So basically, we're all located about an hour to 2 hours away from each other. And we basically did mix a concept of automotive spare part business with the current concept of detergents. So
Okay.
basically, we run low cost businesses. Low cost doesn't mean cheap product. Low cost means um, low charges. low cost, basically. So to give you an idea, on my business, my fixed cost on a monthly basis um, range somewhere 600 euros. So
Okay.
basically, all the added value that you create while running your business is pretty much instant cash. Like margins, like your gross margin is pretty much your net margin.
So this is
And
something that I would still call optimization of business, because you bring the expertise, you have the experience, you know how and what exactly is working and not working in the current business model, and you optimize it.
maybe, so I would put it in a different way.
I hope, because
Uh,
you know the business much better than I do, so it's my way to invite you
well,
to explain what do you exactly do.
we did create um, a standard and optimized distribution model. This is it at the end of the day. And why is it optimized? Because there's no process for decision making, because as everyone runs an independent business, you make decisions on your own. So if you have a doubt, there's no issue. You can still call the others and exchange about the topic that bothers you. But at the end of the day, you take decisions. And if you take a bad decision, this has an impact on your business, but not on the others. And if you take a good decision, you benefit from it. But there's still like a team spirit because we're all linked up to each other's, and we can do many different things. And that way, while running and developing that model, we can still do other things. And this
So
is
this is
why,
something, Cyril, that this is something that might interest some of the listeners of this podcast. And I will put at the end of our recording and of the episodes also the link to your website, so then the people will know where to reach and how to get in touch with you.
sure,
Yes.
but I don't have a website. As of
Okay.
today, I don't have a website. Sorry, I have a call that keeps coming in. I don't have a website. Um, I have a business card, a cell phone, and a computer, and that's it.
So the people
That's
will
the only
still be
thing.
able to connect with you.
Yes, you can reach out to me if you go on my LinkedIn profile. There's my phone number. You just dial in, and I will be available.
Okay, good. And as we are approaching the end of our episode,
Yeah.
one thing that I would like to ask you is, in your view, for the business as usual, what is the most important value that somebody has?
Could you repeat this, please?
So let's put it like this. When you have a business partner and you want to do
Yes.
with this business partner a business as usual, one that is a win-win,
Mhm.
where you have a space of trust, where you have a space of confidence, what is the value that you most want in the other business partner to have?
Transparency. If you want to make it successful, everyone needs to be transparent. And if you are transparent, the value created can be shared with no offense to the others. And basically, um, I would say everyone needs to benefit from what you do. So it's not only in financial terms. I mean, you learn, you grow, you get contacts, connections, ideas, and this is where things start. But if there's no transparency, I would say, when I mean transparency, I take the concept as a whole. It's you need to be acting as a sparring partner with your partner, and back and forth. And that transparency come on all stages of the relationship. So that can be financial, that can be information, ideas, concepts, development on another side, that doesn't fall necessarily in your area, but at least you know what the other do and you know what to expect, and things are clear. And this is where trust and confidence in what you do can grow, because there are different ways to approach. Myself, I always tend to, how would I say that, to start a relationship with a trust capital, if I could say so. And it either grow or shrinks. And this is the starting point. I mean, if you want to start doing things and move forward, at some point, you need to have that trust. So each relationship needs to start with an amount of trust that will develop either higher or lower. But if you start something being, how would I say that, not reluctant, but doubting, it's not going to work. Because when you step into the entrepreneurship situation, let's face it, you need to be ready to lose. You don't win. You don't win, because myself, I did start something from scratch. So you need to try different things. It works, it doesn't, but ultimately, at some point, not 100% of what you do will go to the result that you expect. So when it doesn't go to the result that you expect, you lose something. Money, time, whatever. But
and if you lose something, what do you gain? Because I'm personally convinced that there is not loss without a gain.
Well, you gain experience, definitely. I mean, you go through a learning process or a learning curve that will, in any case, bring you to a next stage. And that next stage will be knowledge. Put the money aside. It's like you read a lot when you are in that situation, because you need to find answers. You keep asking yourself questions. You face situations that were totally not expected. You start your day, you don't know what's going to happen. That's the starting point, basically. And so basically, you are in a constant learning process, and you gain expertise on many different areas, and you know how to handle things quickly, because you work on your own. You do things that nobody can do for you because there's no team, so you cannot delegate.
Yes.
There's no management.
But the last thing, and I would like to close with this one, because I think it would be a good food for thought for many of us, is what is your driver? What is your motivation factor to keep doing what you do?
That's a very good question. The first one is called freedom, because as of today, I do what I want, when I want, and I mean, you gain a tremendous quality of life. It's crazy. So basically, I do speak with many different people, because I'm asking myself questions from time to time, and basically the fact is that as of today, I don't even know if I would be able to get back into a standard organization, because I can start my day at 4 a.m., stop at 12, do whatever I want to do during the afternoon. I can work from anywhere. That's absolutely no issue. And yeah, you gain so much flexibility that this is crazy. So I think this is the first point. But the downside to it, if I could say so, is that obviously financially speaking, there's a loss because no one is here to back you up to make sure that your salary will be on your bank account at the end of the month. It's like, so this is the compensation. You have freedom, you have fun, you meet a lot of people. Sometimes you have good experiences, sometimes bad experiences, but at the end of the day, you simply live your life. And this is the point.
Yeah.
Because everything that you create um, in terms of value, let's clearly speak about cash generation here. This is yours. It doesn't belong to anyone else. So when you start that journey, you set limits and you say, okay, this is the point that I know if I reach, I would have to go back and find another way. But in between the moment where you start and that limit, so many things will happen that it will give you so many different perspectives. You know, for example, myself, from time to time, I miss a lot an organization environment, let's say, having colleagues, that social
The exchange, yeah, the
activity.
social
Yeah,
connection.
because at the end of the day, I'm on my own. If I don't go out to meet people, no, I would say nobody comes to see me because there's nobody in my office. I'm at home. So the way I found to compensate this is simply that I ended up telling myself, okay, once I will get a little more free time, I will start digging into interim management because obviously it looks like I will find everything that I like in such areas, and that will enable me to keep having my businesses and make them grow. And at the same time, that will enable me to view new things, get new ideas, see different organizations, and you just get that. And then you mix it together and you get to what's the perfect formula for you, and you design your own business with that formula. And this is the beauty of it because nobody will tell you, no way, you don't have to convince a steering committee with your idea because the steering committee is yourself. So
The steering committee is yourself. I think I would like to keep this in mind. I think it's also a good way to finalize this episode. And I would like to thank you, Cyril, for your gut. I would like to thank you
I
for
thank you.
your opening up to us and talking about business as usual. Also with vulnerability, which is the biggest portion of courage. To say that yes, life is great. There is a lot of freedom and flexibility, but it's not all the time pink. It's not all the time bright. There are also downsides, and you're ready to be your own steering committee.
Yeah, definitely. And one more point I would add is just be ready to get on the emotional roller coaster.
The emotional roller coaster. Yeah, maybe this would be a topic for a next episode together. I think
Why
this
not?
is not enough spoken. We don't talk about emotions in business because we are too important. We are all the time wearing a mask that keeps us professional, and we sometimes forget that as human beings we are made of flesh, blood, and a lot of emotions.
Yeah, well, obviously, see, this is something that we don't know with the structure that we created because we all face the same thing on a daily basis. So basically,
But we don't talk about it, or we have only recently started to talk about it.
uh, in my model, we do talk about it because we all doubt. So there's a clear exchange, and that's part of the transparency. In I would say in standard organization, I don't think that the discussion is real, and this is the point because what one thing for example, that shocks me is when an organization creates a position of, for example, chief happiness officer. Do you really need to hire somebody to understand that people who are happy at work are just a lot more performing? So yeah.
Yeah, that's a very
Running your own business enables you to be yourself. And this is a very important point.
Thanks a lot for sharing. It has been very interesting. Wish you all the best, and we keep in touch.